The light southerly winds have created some great fishing conditions all week. The tarpon are showing up with slick calm forecasts. The fishing around the piers and jetties should be on fire. You guys that love the bass, you know that the shade under the docks is where you might find a lunker. Tonight, it's all about the piers, docks, and jetties here on the Texas Insider Fishing Report.
Welcome to the Texas Insider Fishing Report. Presented by Yamaha.
Welcome back to the Texas Insider Fishing Report. We're your hosts, Brie Gabrielle and Captain Rick Murphy, fishing from piers, docks, and jetties all over the state this weekend. But Rick, you know, it's good to have you back. I kind of forgot what you looked like.
Well, how can you forget the boss? But Brie, you know what? Speaking of that, you got a baby coming, and we know that you were probably not going to be here next week, so we want to wish you the best of luck.
Thank you. I won't be here next week. We're just going to go with that. I won't be here next week. I will miss everyone terribly, but I'm going to go have my baby, and then I'll be right back.
All right. Promise?
Yep.
Pinky promise.
Well,
let's do it. Okay.
All done. All right. Well, I know Dave at the Workbench has also missed you dearly, haven't you, Dave? Your little sidekick.
Oh, yeah. But you'll be here next week.
Me?
Yeah.
Stop.
Oh, yeah. You're hanging in.
No.
You're going to be hanging about, I think that's about a 2 week or more.
Don't you wish that on me, Dave?
Oh, yeah. Bigger and broader.
Wow.
Wow.
Big baby. Big head. Big-headed baby
Oh, my
coming.
gosh, Dave. We're not friends anymore.
Everything about that is
All
wrong.
right, well, let's move on. We've got some area to cover, so let's see what docks and piers the Startron Middle Fresh region have to offer with Matt Loescher. Let's hear it, Matt.
All right, Bree. So fishing from docks is really popular here in the Middle Fresh region. There's a lot of it that goes on. And it's one of the easiest ways to catch fish, so that's great too. Most of the docks on a lot of the lakes are privately owned, but there are also a lot of public fishing piers located on every lake that I know of in this region. So just check with your local tourism commission or the Texas Parks and Wildlife website for locations of those docks on your local lake. Now, whether you're fishing from a public or a private dock of your own, the key to catching fish around docks is having the right habitat. You want to fish on the docks where there's a lot of brush or some sort of cover around. If it's grass, it doesn't matter, just some sort of cover. So if you have your own dock, you can create that habitat. Or if you're fishing from a public dock, you can select one that already has that cover in place. Maybe the Wildlife Fisheries Department already put it there. On Toledo Bend, most of the docks are they're built up on pilings. So they provide some of the wood cover, even if they don't have brush around them because the pilings are driven into the lake bottom. But on most of the lakes in the Middle Fresh region, which are run by the Corps of Engineers, the docks are required to be floating. So it's a slightly different game there where you have all the floating docks with no pilings. On those lakes, it's even more important to fish the docks that have brush around them because the fish just don't have much to live around otherwise. All they've got is a little shade. Now, lights are another key feature that are very important when you're thinking about docks, even when you're fishing them in the daytime, because if they have lights at night, then that means you're going to hold fish at night, and so it'll be better in the day. When the docks have the lights on all night, they're bringing in the bugs and the bait fish, and those game fish are going to show up looking for an easy meal. So think about that when you're selecting docks as well. Crappie, largemouth, catfish, white bass, all those are species that frequently hang out around these docks like I've described. So there's always some kind of fish to catch around these fisher tractors year-round. I hope that info helps you catch some on your next trip out. Just select the right dock and you should get your line tugged on. Now, I'm going to move into a largemouth report. I'm going to start up in the northern part of my region with Mr. Thurman Spellman with Bass Specialty Guide Service. He tells me that he's relying on docks, as a matter of fact, a lot right now at Richland Chambers to catch a lot of his bass. Now, he says that the water on that lake is at full level and it's fairly clear. The temperature is hanging in the mid to upper 80s, and he's catching bass around the docks that have some sort of cover and deeper water close by. And he's using a shaky head with a Bass Assassin tap-out worm to catch them. He's also using a jig some on the sunny days. And he said he's also catching some fish off of deep road beds and tank dams using a Carolina rig with a Bass Assassin Fat Job as the bait. Most of these fish are sitting in about 13 to 18 foot, adjacent to 25 foot or more. So look for that deeper water nearby. He also has been fishing Lake Fairfield this week, and he says that the bite there is a little bit better. He says that the water level there has risen some lately thanks to recent rains, and the water temp is staying in the mid-80s. they are catching fish there really deep. They're out in, all the way out in 20 to 25 foot of water, and they're catching them on a Carolina rig once again, using that fat job still as the bait. And he says that the topwater bite has really died off there, but he is still catching fish punching in the grass instead of working baits over the top of it. And he's punching a 3/4 ounce weight, and he's using a skunk bait as the bait for doing that. And he sent me a photo there of a real nice 7-pounder they caught recently. I think he said they caught that one on the fat job Carolina rigging on Lake Fairfield.
Nice.
Real nice, pretty fish there. Now, moving down to Sam Rayburn, the water level continues to come down over at Rayburn. All this hot water we've had, they've been generating a little bit. It's only about a foot over pool level now, and they're running the generators at the dam some, so there's more and more fish pulling offshore, chasing bait. And a lot of them are schooling on the surface as well. So be sure to have that Berkeley topwater plug rigged up and ready to cast to them. Look for those schooling fish around the ends of the flat where there's deep water nearby. Another great option for catching them is a Carolina rig with that Bass Assassin Vapor Shad on a really long leader. Kind of imitates those shad that are dying off as the bass are chasing them and falling to the bottom. And usually your bigger fish are going to come closer to the bottom in the areas where that schooling is going on. That's where that Carolina rig really shines for catching those big ones. Lastly, just to touch on the crappie real quick, Sam Rayburn has been really hot lately for the crappie as well. That water level falling has got them stacking up, bringing them to that offshore structure in 20 to 30 foot. So get some live minnows and some panfish assassin jigs and get after it. Load that cooler up.
All right, Bub, thank you so much. Great report. We appreciate it. And we're going to go ahead and take a look at the Middle Fresh region hotspots. Matt says that the docks and the offshore flats near the deep water are good for bass, and that the crappie are ganging up in 20 to 30 feet of water as well.
All right, well, Piers, docks, and jetties are where it's at in the Garmin Middle Coast region, so let's have a chat with Captain Bink Grimes to find out what we're catching off them. Go ahead, Bink.
The Garmin Middle Coast region has countless piers, docks, and jetties that offers this great rod bending action. The past 2 weeks, we've been working the Matagorda jetty for trout, redfish, and occasional snook. The snook have been a breath of fresh air, knowing that some of them survived the freeze of 2021, and actually we've caught quite a few. Docks along the Colorado River have been a summer mainstay for vacationers. They take a live shrimp or a glow soft plastic and cast away at night under the lights. Some jig up and down the muddy shorelines of docks and catch flounder as well on that incoming time. It's a great way to catch fish if you don't have a boat. That's the beauty of the Texas coast and the Garmin Middle Coast region. There's miles and miles of profitable water to fish by foot. Going to trout, there's been good catches in the Espiritu Santo Bay near Port O'Connor. Lynn Smith said there's fish from 4 to 5 pounds. Chicken on a chain bass assassins and mirror sheep pups. Around Palacios, those deep reefs around the sunken shrimp boat in Coon Island have produced trout on live shrimp on their popping cork. Half Moon Reef's been solid as well. Don't forget about Turtle Bay and Karankawa Bay as those tides begin to swell this month. Waders have scored there, and also topwaters on the edge of those shallow reefs are working. The surf continues to produce with light winds and green tides. The bite along the beach has been tougher on artificial, but those tossing live shrimp have enjoyed good trout in the first gut. Most of those anglers this week reported lots of sharks along the beach, kind of wreaking havoc on our tackle. But there's just a lot of trout in the surf right now because there's just a lot of big shrimp right on the beach, between right on the beach to 20 foot out. And then Rockport anglers, they're targeting sand and grass humps with small top waters and soft plastics on the incoming tide. The nearby Port Aransas jetty's been holding a lot of trout on live shrimp. Photo there, it's a recent trip at the Matagorda jetty where we released a pretty nice little Texas snook.
Nice.
So with triple tail now, light winds have allowed the deep reaches of West Matagorda Bay to green, and which it does most August, and affords just a really good weather and a chance to chase triple tail. Most time people think triple tail are offshore fish, but man, they come right through the jetty in West Matagorda Bay, and the buoys and channel markers along the intercoastal waterway near Palacios, running all the way to Port O'Connor, potential hot spots. There have been fish to 15 pounds lately. Many of those triple tailers, they like to keep it quiet because there's just not a lot of buoys to fish, and the preferred method is rigging a live shrimp under cork and varying that leader from 2 to 4 foot. A good boat driver is a must to help the fish, kind of pull them away from the structure. As soon as you feel the pressure on the fish, that fish likes to go back to the shade and the structure. And if you don't have a good boat driver, man, he'll wrap you around those intercoastal waterway buoys. Lots of triple tail are offshore as well on the weed lines. And same deal, if you got a live shrimp, toss one to it. You can sight cast to them. Any debris, floating debris out there is a potential triple tail hunt. Offshore, Matagorda, Michael Quebec said kingfish are all over the place from the jetty out to the shrimp boats in about 200 foot of water. He said the boats have been trolling blue runners around the shrimp boats. Water temps are in the upper 80s, and emerald green tides are just off the beach. And some of those some of those kingfish are coming right to the jetty. Some pluggers have seen them at Port O'Connor and the Surfside jetty with kings pushing 20 pounds. And then in Freeport, Mike Siegel said those kingfish bite has been good in state waters on sardines. Larger kings have been found around the shrimp boats while trolling, and there's lots of Spanish mackerel hanging around with the kings as well. So we're starting to see more tarpon as well. A lot of pogies coming in through through our jetties, and it's just been happening. But that's pretty much all from the Garmin Middle Coast region. Man, keep erring on the side of conservation, and please, put back more than you take from our blessed waters.
All right, bud. Thank you so much. Time to take a look at the mirror lure hotspots for the Middle Coast region. Bink says the trout are good on the deep reefs in the West Matagorda Bay on live shrimp, and the kingfish are best offshore around those shrimp boats while you're trolling with some big blue runners. What do you think, Brie?
Sounds like fun. I almost remember what it's like. Trolling.
We'll get you back out
What's
there.
that? I'm more of a pier, dock, and jetty girl right now.
All right. Just think about pushing.
Okay.
Okay.
We're push you right off this dock. We're seeing what the Fish Bites Upper Coast region is reeling in next. And we're headed to the Workbench for some rigs and techniques with Dave. Dave, you're just on my list tonight. Don't you say anything.
You said I was mean. I think he's meaner than I am.
Nope, you're winning.
Pushing and whatnot.
Okay, what are we talking about?
Yeah, exactly.
What are we talking about?
We're talking about catching fish on the pier.
Oh.
Sharks,
I can do that.
redfish. Rick's going to share his redfish trick on us. So.
Oh,
It's gonna be
tricky
good.
Ricky. We'll be back.
So, Dave, I want you to know I missed you over here at the Workbench and all the havoc and fun that
Got
we
stuff
create.
going across your face and everything. Look at this.
It's all right. I'm used to having something in my face.
All right. Well, we're talking about piers and jetties, and there are a ton of piers off the Florida coast. There's more than 40, and Galveston's got a bunch, Texas coast. I'm sorry, Keeper, Port Aransas got the Keepers. Galveston's got several. Long walks a lot of times, so you might want to opt for a cart if you're going to carry a lot of stuff. I always try to, if I'm going to fish at a pier or a jetty, I always try to limit my gear. I just think, okay, I'm going there to catch redfish, or I'm going there to catch redfish and mackerel, just 2 or 3 things that I'm going to target. That way I don't wind up taking my whole tackle box, because I have that tendency when I'm getting my stuff ready to go fishing. Well, I'm going to need this, I'm going to need that, I'm going to need that. Before long, I got so much stuff that I could barely make it out to the end of the pier without dying from a heart attack. A good backpack is always good, to bring out there.
Yeah.
A good pair of shoes. You don't want to be out there on a pier or a jetty with open-toed shoes. You catch a lot of catfish, a lot of spiny fishes. Your feet are very vulnerable then. Wear a good pair of gloves, obviously, as well, so you don't get poked out there and have to come back early because you got a spine in you.
Right.
Those are always good things. Just try to pick your targets. A lot of times we think that we have to go really far to catch a fish, and sometimes you do. Sometimes you have to outcast your competition, and that's where these Alvy rods and reels come in. These side casts with the long 12-foot rods, or 13-foot even like
this
that.
one. Yeah.
Exactly. I got that one rigged up for a big redfish or even a small shark. It's got kind of like a sliding sinker rig on it, kind of like a Jupiter rig, but without the swivel at the top.
Right.
That's 20-pound test braid, which is usually, you can't hardly break that stuff. It's really strong. If you hook a 200-pound shark, you probably won't catch
mile.
it. But you can cast a long way with this. Get out there. You can put you a mullet head on there. Any kind of bait that you want to put on there, a big chunk of squid, throw that out there and you can catch redfish, black drum, even bluefish. Anything will eat that stuff off the bottom like that. Or, you can get, some regular dropper rigs. These are made for pompano. They're called pompano rigs, but they catch everything. You can put shrimp on here.
You can put fish bites on there.
Fish bites on there, exactly. I usually put one of each. I put a fish bite and a shrimp, or a clam, or a piece of bait and the fish bites, because the fish bites won't come off. If you cast it a long, long way, and sometimes it's hard to keep a frozen shrimp on there unless you tie it on with some bait thread.
Right.
But if you put a shrimp on there, if your shrimp comes off,
put the shrimp on first.
Put the shrimp on first. This usually holds it on. Yeah. Correct. And it won't come off there usually, and that stays on there forever, even after the shrimp's long gone. So you can pick it off, but they won't pick that off.
Yeah.
And they'll keep coming back, and you can catch speckled trout on that again.
Yep.
Drums, even mackerels and stuff. You got to watch out for your leader. If you think you're gonna be running into a lot of mackerels and sharks and stuff, you want to have a good wire leader. I use number 8 wire, which is I think like 60-pound test.
Right.
Usually plenty, way more than you're gonna need usually, unless you catch a great big shark. A giant shark might be able to bite through that, a 200-300 pounder.
And the bull redfish will still eat this.
Correct. They don't care.
Right.
And usually if this gets in their corner, the only thing we're worrying about is the length, because we don't want him to spin it up.
Right.
He's probably not going to break it, but we just want the length so in case he gets spun up. If you're not making those long casts, if you've got a bunch of mackerels or bluefish blitzes, as I call them, they come screaming in. I always like to have a couple of spinning reels ready, and you got the little vibe on there. You were talking about how you like to use the vibe in the jetties, vertical jigging when you get up over the fish.
So, and that's exactly right. So one thing that's cool is with this type of, with your vertical jigging, we won so much money vertically jigging this. Some guys would be fishing with a jig head and a soft plastic of some sort, you know what I mean? But the thing that really worked for me, Dave, and I learned this early in my redfish career, was that when the jetty turned and actually hit the Gulf bottom, some jetties it was 20 feet, some jetties it was 30 feet, and you had to know what the depth was. And we would use these deep running crankbaits like this Fritz side. And what would happen, Dave, is when we would use the trolling motor, when one guy would fish behind the boat, throwing long with braided line, and when this bill would hit the rock and deflect off, boom, that's when you'd get the bite. And then the other guy would be throwing, again, instead of into the jetty, we were up tight to the jetty, throwing down that 25-foot drop off, that 30-foot drop off. And once we located the fish, I'd usually pick a rock so that I had a real landmark. I remember one in Port Arthur where there's a PVC pipe was sticking up, and if I got anywhere near that PVC pipe,
he was on.
Yeah, and Paige would put on a clinic. He'd just be in the back, and I'd put him on him, bam.
Awesome. Well, there you go. You can catch anything on the jetties and piers.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The key is fishing in or fishing out.
Yep, exactly. No
There
good
we
way.
go.
All right, Brie.
Clean transition, guys. Good job. Don't say, just keep it clean. The Fish Bites Upper Coast region is always producing some great catches, so let's see what we're being blessed with this weekend. You're up, Captain Weston. Go for it.
All right. Hello, folks. Welcome back, Rick. Good to hear you. So you head in the Upper Coast. There's an abundance of jetties, docks, and piers. Just like Dave was talking about, there are more places that you could probably fish in a lifetime. So if you look at like the Texas City Dike is one of the longest of its kind in the state of Texas, and there's great fishing on the dike year-round. And the further you go out, you'll hit different kinds of fishing. There's little holes for flounder. You walk the jetty, you'll see fish breaking topwater, redfish, trout. It's an amazing thing to do, to walk that jetty, just count the different kinds of fish you can actually catch there in a day. So, most fishing areas has a map. Like North Texas, you can the Upper Coast, you can pick up a map and it'll show you most of the areas that you can fish: beaches, jetties, piers. It'll give you access, rules, regulations, times, which is very important because a lot of them close at a certain time. You don't want to get caught in there late. And also check your fishing license. Make sure you have a fishing license. Most areas require it. There are some areas that don't, but I wouldn't chance it. I'd just get my license. I'd go sign up for the CCA Star Tournament in case you catch something big. You know, you could turn in the thousands. You know, if you're around the beaches on those jetties, be careful when it's rough. Wear a life jacket if you need to. Just be safe. But we have great fishery here, like Dave was talking about. So many different ways to fish, so many different kinds of fish. Just go out there, be safe, and have fun. And we'll roll from there right into redfish, guys. So redfish bite is steady in West Galveston Bay this week. The water temp is still rising, so the fish have started sneaking into little holes and channels. And the amount of bait we have in the rivers and all around the shores, the fish are close to the shore, but they are sneaking, like I said, in those deeper potholes with the hot weather. And right now you can cast net just about any bait you want for your natural bait and save yourself a lot of money. Like we were saying, Match the Hatch right now is in full swing. There's a bunch of shad. There's a bunch of mullet swimming everywhere. There's shrimp. And I've been catching shad and mullet from inshore an inch and a half up to 8 inches out on the beachfront. So you can choose the size, color, shape, just about anything. Topwaters are still tearing it up, guys. Mirror and Berkeley and anything that's in a shad color right now can't be beat. We have a picture of Big Tony with a nice redfish today.
Nice. What else you got for us this week,
Well,
Bo?
bouncing offshore, guys. Amberjack season's in, and with about a week in the books, we're seeing some beautiful fish brought back to the dock, guys. And we all know that amberjack love structure. The big game fish like to hide around the underwater, the offshore platforms. The cutoff rigs, rock piles are great places to look. Live bait is going to be your go-to for these big fish. Hardtails, blue runners, whatever you call them, wherever you're from, work the best. Now, locating the bait may be as hard as it is to locate the fish. Recently, I don't know what's happened in our area, the bait's been a little tough. So if you can find good bait, hit your spots, you're going to get good fish. We've been using R&R Tackle has a great sabiki rig for bait for the hardtails, or a nice size gold or silver spoon. And I would always recommend R&R sabikis for hardtails. They seem to work the best. They also supply D-hookers for the fish. We've got the wet nets, the regular nets, so you don't have to touch your bait, which is great. You can get them in the live well without getting your hands all over them and ruining them, and that's important too. We got a picture today with Cody and Colby with a decent amberjack they brought in last week.
Nice. Ouch. All right, what else you got for us? One to go.
Well, let's talk about ling. This is something that brings a little humor to your life. Here's a fish that I say can cause a Three Stooges atmosphere on my boat. Just fishing for AJ's last week, we had a really big ling swim up to the boat. And the aftermath of this can leave you heartbroken or laughing or sometimes both, Rick. Everybody on the boat, including myself, seemed to have lost our mind for a few minutes. You know how everybody's excited. They see the big fish, especially a big one. And you've got people throwing baits, lures. You've got tangled lines, people tripping over gear, all part of the Stooges effect. And the fact that sometimes, or most times, we hook these big fish and land them and all that excitement is a test of your focus. But, the reward is a beautiful fish that is great to eat. I keep my trusty Penn spinning combo handy, or at least I like to say that I do, or I should, which is spooled with 50-pound diamond buoy. I use a 6/0 trocar hook because it's strong, and these fish are very powerful for just this occasion. And we have a picture here today of Australian Luke with a little ling.
All right, bud, thank you so much. Time to take a look at the R&R Tackle hotspots from the Upper Coast region. He said the redfish are in the deeper water. Throw mirror lures and Berkeley topwaters into shad color. That'll catch those guys. And then offshore, sight casting topwater baits to use in the ling and a pin spinning combo rigged with diamond fluorocarbon and 6/0 trocar circle hook. What do you think?
Well, Rick, hopefully you haven't come to your senses and decided to keep this beautiful Chevy behind us, but here's your weekly reminder that if you would like a chance to win this 3100 hot rod, all you have to do is purchase raffle tickets at ccaflorida.org/hot rod, and the winner will be chosen at the end of September. So good luck. Hopefully it's me. Because
hope it is.
I bought tickets. I'd like to
right.
drive this home. It'd be an easy transition. All right, our lower fresh, 2 car seats.
Car seats.
Might fit. Our lower fresh and Albie Reel's lower coast region captains are ready to talk piers, docks, and jetties next, so stay hooked and remember to keep up with everything fishing in Texas. Make sure to head on over to our website, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and to see new fishing adventures along with reports, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Captain Rick Murphy. We'll see you soon. The lower fresh region has some tips if you're fishing from docks and piers this summer, and he's also got reports on Lake Decker, Fayette County, Somerville, and Choke Canyon. Talk to us, Matt.
All right, let's get it rolling. In freshwater, we got lots of docks and piers. Don't let not having a boat keep you from going fishing. Seek out access on your area lakes by contacting marinas or state parks. Most of those have usable docks and piers. There are many species available, from those access points. The easiest thing to catch, get yourself some earthworms or crickets and go load the cooler with bluegill. Minnows are a wonderful way to catch a mixed bag, a crappie bass, white bass, or just about anything. Bottom fishing with cut bait or dough bait will net you some good eating catfish. Just take your time and look for those access areas and get after it. It's too much fun to stay at the house for sure. Moving on down to my largemouth, Lake Decker. There in the Austin area, the fish are schooling in the discharge early in the morning. Don't seem to be doing it as much as they have in the past years, but they're still doing that early. Get you a small swim bait or a tiny jigging spoon and throw into the surface activity when you see it. Also, you can throw a shaky head or a Texas rig around those rocks in that area to catch some. But the best bite there has been on the main lake around the thick vegetation. The top water bite's good at the edge of that hydrilla. You can also throw a frog or a wake bait up on the grass to get some exciting blow-ups. You can flip the grass with a heavy weight and a soft plastic as well to get some bites from the bass that are under the canopy of that hydrilla. Lake Buchanan is fishing well. In the morning, you want to work shallow rock piles with top waters. Walk-in or popper-style baits are working fine. You can also throw moving baits such as crank baits and spinner baits. Frogs working well near the laydowns and bushes in the shallow water. Later in the day, move out to the drop-offs on the points and drag a jig or a Texas rig to get some bites from those deeper fish. Fayette County Lake's been fair again this week. Underspins with small swim baits been working well early around the shallow grass. Also a light Texas rig, trick worm, and 8 to 10 foot around the grass edges is catching those shallow fish. Fish early because the fish are getting finicky there after about 10 o'clock. The deep fish are on the main lake points and drop-offs. They're biting a heavy shaky head or a Carolina rig. Green pumpkin candy has been the best color. The most common depth has been 12 to 15 foot. Somerville, the biggest key at Somerville right now is really early. Throw a small bladed spinner bait or a small rattle trap around the rocky banks. A little later on, move out to the brush piles at 12 to 16 foot of water with a Texas rig or a half-ounce brush jig to get you some bites out of those piles where they're hiding from the sun. Choke Canyon, the level is steady. Fishing still dependent on the weather. Normal days, the top water bite's good for about 30 minutes. If you get some clouds, that'll last, as long as you've got the cloud cover. Any walking style top water seems to be working well. Spinner baits, swim baits, and flukes are also working around that shallow hydrilla and that new cover. Fish the pockets and isolated grass clumps. Once the sun really gets high, you want to fish the grass edges and any shade with a Texas rig big worm. When you find them, they're definitely piled up in areas that have shad. That's the biggest key there. Got 2 pictures there from Brian Cotter, a couple of his customers from the Austin area. Always love to see those kids get into fishing and the smiles on their faces.
It looked like that one boy was swimming, also fishing. He was all wet.
He might have accidentally fell in.
Yeah, accidentally on purpose, what we used to say as a kid.
Moving on down to the catfish at Lake Falcon. Ram Red has sent me a report there. The water's still rising a little bit, and it's got in the green cover. It's got those keeper-sized catfish real shallow in that newly flooded vegetation. Small shad, shrimp, or cut bait's been doing the job. The bigger catfish are found right now at the mouth of the river where there's a little current. Cut carp, live tilapia have been the key, where there's a few shad in the mix.
All right,
That's
bud.
what I got this week.
You did good. Thank you so much. We're going to go and take a look at the Fiber Tech hotspots from the lower fresh region. He says that Fayette County has been fair again this week for bass. Underspins with small spinner baits working around the grass first thing in the morning, and then also a light Texas rig trick worm at 8 to 10 feet around the grass edges. Fish early because the bite gets really finicky after 10. And then the deeper schools on the main lake points with like a shaky head would work, or a Carolina rig baited with green pumpkin candy tail, dipped chartreuse straight tail worm.
Woo.
And don't forget to fish it in 12 to 15 feet along those drop-offs. What do you think, Brie?
Those are some details.
Yeah, man.
Loving it.
If
That
you can't
sounds
catch
good.
them after that hot spot, you might as well give it up.
I agree. All right, let's check in with our Alvy Reels Lower Coast Region Captain, Chad Kinney, and see what dock, pier, and jetty action we might be seeing this weekend. Talk to us, Chad.
We're going to talk about a bunch of that. First off, I'm just going to mention Shallow Sport is having their owners tournament this weekend. It's their Saturday here, so we'll be out there, and there'll be a shotgun start. It'll be a good deal to go to. And then the docks, jetties, and piers, that's a good deal. If you go to the island, South Padre Island, there's plenty of docks and piers and jetties to fish off. South Padre on the lower coast here, Port Mansfield, Port Aransas. And the main thing on that stuff is kind of lots of good action, but you got to kind of time it right. Of course, one with weather and also the time of year. On your docks and piers, what I've seen growing up as a kid and still go to today is basically you got a lot more trout fishing at night, some reds maybe during the day. And then jetty action can be really, really awesome. Depends on the time of year. This year, the redfish we've been talking about all season, how they've been holding. But normally for a rule of thumb in this area, go in the fall, which would be like September, October, and then the spring, February, and March for those big redfish runs. But right now, they're still holding the year round, and I think it might be due to the dredging and a lot of bait holding out there. There's a lot of species out there in the summer from on the jetties I'm talking about, like from reds, trouts, black drum, sheephead, kingfish, mackerel, tarpon, sharks. It's loaded up, so that's what adds a whole big interest to that. And it's a great way to catch, different bunch of species out there. There's also plenty of public docks to fish off of. Port A has them. Port Mansfield, we got 2 of them. The island's got plenty. And there's also, if you got, maybe a buddy might have a condo or not, they might have a dock. But if not, check with your local rental companies. They've got piers that you can rent. You might have a boat that goes with it or bring your own down. And that's really good. You got a picture here. This was caught off the South Padre Island jetty, so the guy walked up the jetty. This is Justin Contreras, and that's his first redfish off the jetty there.
Wow, good job,
That's
dude.
a good start. He's ruined now for a while. Moving over to the redfish, going in the flats and stuff, the redfish in the flats is really picking up, and I really love doing this stuff. So Green Island, all the way up towards the land cut, with these calmer conditions we have, we've been getting a few schools out there. We haven't been getting blown out too bad, so good numbers. Those redfish should be pushing up wakes real shallow up early in the AM. So utilize your equipment from like your shallow sport boat, one that's going to get you there. Yamaha, which I run, and the reason I do that is because we got a lot of grass down here that you never have problem overheating or anything else. The reliability on that stuff is the best by far. And then you got to have your power poles. I got 2 on my X3 shallow sport. So once you find these fish, which is easier in these calmer mornings, kind of do some S-turns, spread them on out, power pole down, get your group out and weigh, and space everybody out. And you can cover a lot more ground this way by just casting like 10 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 2 o'clock, slowly pushing, keep everybody even. You'll cover more ground this way. You got your power poles with a remote on it, so this allows you to keep waiting, keeps your boat, keeps everything at real quick distance to you. Hop back on and redo the process to find the fish if they move too far, or if you got through them and you got to circle back around. So the flats are really picking up. It's a lot of fun. It's a little early for it right now, but it's really good, so I think it's going to hold all the way to October. We got a picture of a good limit of redfish here. The guys were waiting. Moving to offshore, state water snapper fishing, they still always call it, it's open. It's open year-round for down here for state waters. And then tarpon has showed up around the beachfront, and some bill fishing is getting better right now out around the 100-fathom curve. So we're going to talk a little bit some tarpon action. So look, these good conditions, which we've had. We haven't had any big storms, and we had a lot of fresh water, so that fresh water is still dumping out. So what it's doing, some of that fresh water from the Rio Grande coming in our bay systems off of the Port Mansfield jetty also. And what's creating is a whole bunch of color changes with the bait balls, big schools of menhaden, and the fishing's been great from the South Padre, Port Mansfield up to Port A jetties. Target these bait balls. Either use like live finger mullet, croaker, pinfish. If you guys want to use lures only, pick out a mirror lure, whatever your favorite is on that. Saltwater assassin. Hook it up with an eagle claw, 8 to 10 knot circle hook, and work these beach fronts with the bait balls. Take plenty of tackle though, because there's going to be some mackerel mix in the mix and some shark action also. And then right now, this action is kind of starting early, which is great too. I think it's all going to be going good all the way through October, and there's some really solid tarpon. So I got a good picture of this. Is South Padre Island was just released. So moving through bill fishing, August through October is really a great time of year to target the billfish. Head up to the 100 fathom curve, pull a full spread. I love throwing some islanders out there, rigged up some ballyhoo, and then put on the center rigger. You might add a teaser bird to it. On your flat line, run some teasers with it, and as far as lures, run some chuggers and mid-range there, and have a pitch bait ready. So you get a big blue up or a sail or a white, and he's not eating, and he's at your teasers. Reel those in, pitch that pitch bait to him real quick, and you'll have a lot more way to get him strike going. Work those bait balls or any current changes or rips that you got going out there. Like I said, there's some blue marlin action, white marlin sails, and I got a picture here of a release of about a 250 pound blue.
Nice, good work, Chad. All right, bud, we're gonna go ahead and take a look at the shallow sport, lower coast hotspots inshore. He said the redfish are showing up in the flats around Arroyo City, all the way up north to the land cut. And then the state water snapper remains good with some tarpon showing up on the beachfront, and then offshore. Head on out deep to the canyons for some billfish action, as calm as it's gonna be this weekend, Brie.
Sounds fun. All right, our Upper Fresh Region guide has some great info if you plan on fishing from a dock this weekend. But first, Dave has some fancy new products for us at the Workbench. Dave, you're looking pretty fancy yourself.
Yeah, you usually don't wear flip-flops with these things, do you?
Well,
That's my nice bib. You have to get used to these bibs.
It's not the oddest thing.
They didn't make these for little babies.
Oh my goodness.
I could roll in the food.
There he goes.
Back on the baby train. Well, the Workbench, new products.
Yes, sir.
Here we go.
All right, we're going to start with the Garmin right there. It's the Striker Vivid 5 CV. It's got the 5-inch display. 480 by 800 pixels. So comes with the GT 200 transducer as well. It's a package deal.
Right.
Really portable unit. Not quite as portable as the little 4 that we had the other day,
right.
But this is the 5-inch, bigger model. Still, you can still buy the little portable kit actually with it. It'll still float this thing, and you put it in your kayak. Comes with different suction mounts and/or a foam pad mount for the bottom of your kayak, if you want to do a through hole type deal. It's got a 2D sonar and chirp sonar with the clear view. It's a powerful little unit. 500 watts.
500 watts.
Yeah. So
Garmin.com?
Yeah, it'll go to 1,600 feet down as
what?
well. Yeah, exactly. It's got 7 color options. It's sunlight readable. Quick draw contours to 1 foot. You can store 2 million of those, of acres of maps, and just a really little portable, great little unit. You can take it anywhere.
One of the
It's
things...
got a really sensitive GPS as well.
The things that I like about what the Garmin's doing now is they're now making a product for every different size checkbook.
Oh yeah, this was $299 for the. It's not bad at all for the.
It's way to go, Garmin.
Exactly.
I'm really excited
job.
about some of the stuff you guys are bringing to the table.
Next, we'll do that beautiful little bib I had on, the Sims CX bib. This is a true waterproof bib. It's not for the hobby guy. This is a professional bib. It's made for a guy who's passionate about fishing and wading and getting out there and getting in the salt water. It's got the 3-way stretch fabric, 3-layer. It's got 3 different layers, breathable. It's got a really nice zipper that goes all the way down, and it's got zippers that go halfway up the legs as well.
So you can put it over your boots.
Correct. You can put it over your boots. Those are waterproof zippers actually. It's got a self-healing waterproof zipper on the thigh, on the right thigh, which is truly waterproof zipper. You can put any of your
phone.
You can put a phone or anything like that in there.
Oh yeah.
It's got a water-resistant pocket on this side as well, on the other thigh, and then there's 4 pockets right up underneath your chin. You got a zip pocket on each side of the zipper and a top pocket on each side. It's got a belt loops as well, and a nice place where you can put your kill switch. So it's a great
good product.
Great set of bibs there.
Yep.
You know, if you want to stay dry, which I hate being wet.
And where do we go to find those?
SimsFishing.com.
Okay.
Next, we got the Fish Monkey Performance Fishing Gloves. These are the Freestyle, which is the custom fit gloves. You can just pop that off there. Look at the He-Man strength you got.
Yeah.
You can use these. What these are made for is, you know, a lot of guys like certain fingers cut off. Some guys don't like any fingers cut off. These you can cut off with a pair of scissors. They're made for that. No fray or seam split when you cut the fingers on these lines. You can cut whichever ones you want to cut off. It's got the monkey grip inside, UPF 50 sun protection, so you don't have to worry about the sun getting your hands when you're wearing those. It's got the second skin fit with a 4-way stretch. They're good for bow fishing because you can cut out which fingers you want, spear fishing, or just any old fishing. You know, you can do anything with them.
I think I'm gonna try them polling, Dave.
There you go. Quick dry, breathable fabric too. So they're strong, durable gloves. They're made to last the long haul.
Okay.
And look at that monkey on there. I like that monkey.
I like
face.
the monkey.
Fishmonkeygloves.com. You can go check those out.
Mm-hmm.
Next, we got some flicker shads here. Berkeley flicker shad. This is one of their most popular crankbaits. They roll crazy. There's a story that the guy who invented the flicker shad, when he made these things, he couldn't get the bass to stop eating it. It was one of his most. He was surprised that it didn't sell right away as strong because he thought nothing ate the bass. Nothing got eaten like this flicker shad. It's got a really slow roll. Goes down from 9 to 11 feet. Some of them go down to 13 feet. You know, they're tank tested. They got that rolling flicker. They're really great baits. You can't beat the flicker shad.
We got to go to flicking another region.
Yeah, I got you. Another flicking reason.
Missed you, Rick. All right, we're getting into the nitty gritty of the dock life in the Upper Fresh region, and Johnny Geis has just the advice we're going to need to land a biggin. Tell us how to do it, Johnny.
Yes, I will. Rick and Brie, how y'all doing?
Good.
As most anglers know, the best fishing structure on any lake's a boat dock. These docks, they come in all shapes and sizes, but they all provide something that's special that attracts fish. Mainly, a dock or pier provides cover and a comfortable hiding place for the fish so they can ambush their food source. Docks also provide a very important feature that bass like, and that is shade. So since these fish do not have eyelids, they seek shelter from the sunlight either by going deeper in the water column or finding some type of cover to get under, such as docks or weeds or piers. Fishing a dock or pier is a great way to catch fish, and on most lakes, you can find a pattern or specific something that holds fish in similar spots on other docks. So what makes one dock better than others? Probably the number one feature that makes for a good fishing dock is locating one that has some depth changes or is located next to a creek channel swing. The best docks usually even have man-made structures such as brush piles. So how do you find the docks with the brush piles? Well, now that I got that Garmin live scope, it's as easy as pointing the transducer under the dock and you'll immediately see the brush and the fish, and you can easily target the best places. But before live scope, I look for signs such as the rod holders or seats or benches on a dock. If there were several rod holders on the end of the side of the dock, it's a good indication that the dock owners like to fish. They had a spot usually baited up with some attracted brush nearby. Another tip is to pay close attention to where the fish are positioned on the dock. Sometimes you'll find them on the ends of the dock near the deepest water. Sometimes they may be as close as possible to the shoreline. Bass, they'll usually be found holding in the shade area of the dock most every time. So how do you go about fishing the dock or pier? First, the best dock anglers are experts at flipping, pitching, and skipping lures. 3 distinct kind of techniques. Anglers who learn how to get their lures to areas that other anglers miss usually catch the most and the largest bass. So when you approach a dock, you should usually want to pick out the most fishy looking spot and quietly drop your lure down to this unsuspecting fish. Fishing boat docks is almost always an option and usually plays a major role in winning bass tournaments. Plenty of YouTube videos out there on how to teach you to be a better dock fisherman Check them out. Hey, let's talk about bass on Lake Fork. Since we're talking about docks this week, I'll cover a very effective pattern that's going on Fork right now. Fork, like most lakes in Texas, has plenty of boat docks all over the lake. A large number of the Fork docks have lights on them, either above the water floodlights or below the water green lights. Both types of lights attract fish at night and are excellent places to fish. Dock owners on Fork are usually very friendly, don't mind anglers fishing around their docks, but please use good judgment. If the dock owner is fishing their own lights that night, move along, find you another dock to fish. Also, be sure you don't get on their dock or bounce lures off their boats. Be respectful of the owner's privacy by not shining the lights towards their house, and they'll stay friendly. Fishing green lights is a very good way to catch big bass in August. Keep your boat outside the lighted area and you'll catch the bigger bass around the perimeter of the light. Best lures right now are dark colored shaky head worms. Use a half-ounce jig head and slowly drag the worm around the dark areas around the lights. Some nights a crankbait or a flutter spoon will also catch some big bass. Here's a couple of pictures of a green light loaded with fish on Fork, and the other picture is of a lady with a pretty nice sized lunker caught around a green light.
Nice. Tell us quickly about Alan Henry, bub.
Yes, sir. Alan Henry, guy buddy Philip Poole said lake's on fire right now. He's catching fish on top waters from sun up to 10 o'clock using football head jigs and Senkos. Also catching a lot of quality fish, running 1 to 5 pounds on top waters. Alan Henry's fishing the best it's done in 5 years, so give old Philip Poole a call if you want to catch some bass out in West Texas. Been a mild weather here in August, but the fishing is hot, so come on out and join in on the catching.
Do you have another picture there, Johnny? No?
I do, and you'll see that's Philip Poole's picture right there. That was one they caught this week. Pretty good sized bear bass right there.
Yeah.
Nice job, bud. All right, we're gonna go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the Upper Fresh region. He says Lake Fork, the nighttime fishing around the green lights on the docks is working great. Use dark colored shaky head worms for the best results. Lake Alan Henry, try top waters from dawn until 10 a.m. and then fish deep water football jigs for the bigger fish.
Well, Rick, I'm proud of you.
Yes.
You came back like you never left. You must know what you're doing. We missed you.
Been doing it for 15 years.
I know, but sometimes, you never know. You get old.
17 now, bud. 17 years.
Yeah.
17 years.
Yeah, this
Long
one.
time.
Well, you were in Costa Rica, right?
Yes, man.
Not
we had the
fishing.
best
That can make you
time.
forget.
Well, we did the little
stuff.
fishing. We went down there and filmed the Sportsman's Adventure with Ridge on the Fads. Blue marlin fishing. It's going to be a great blue marlin show.
Oh, I can't wait to see it.
And then Kathy and the girlfriends and Colin came in, and then we stayed for another week, and we did all kinds of cool stuff.
We were here slaving away.
And you guys are over here holding down the farm.
Hey.
All right, guys. Have a good
Anytime.
weekend out there. We'll see y'all. I
Bye,
won't be here.
baby.
See you in September.
See you soon, baby
He'll be
Leo.
back.